At dinner, I said, can't wait for the family reunion. My sister laughed, you're not invited, it's for real family, everyone laughed. I just smiled and left. 4 days later, my dad tried to withdraw $2,400. I sent a screenshot, payment denied. Must be that family-only policy. 2 days later, I heard a loud knock on my door. The thing about being adopted is that people forget you chose to show up every single day. Nobody forced me to come to Sunday dinners or answer late-night phone calls when someone needed bail money or a place to crash. I showed up because that's what family does, right? Wrong, apparently. It was Mom's birthday dinner at Maggiano's, the Italian place downtown where they serve portions big enough to feed a small country. Everyone was there: Mom, Dad, my older sister Rebecca, my younger brother Tyler, and Rebecca's husband Joshua. The waitress had just brought out the chicken parmesan when Mom started talking about the upcoming family reunion in July. We've booked that lodge up in Lake Tahoe, Mom said, stabbing at her pasta. The one with the boat dock and the fire pit. It's going to be absolutely beautiful. I swallowed my bite of bread. That sounds amazing. I should probably request those days off work soon. What are the exact dates? The table went quiet. Completely silent. Even the background noise of the restaurant seemed to fade away. Rebecca set down her fork with a delicate clink against the plate. She had this look on her face, the same one she'd worn when she was 12 and told me Santa wasn't real. Smug satisfaction mixed with something crueler. Oh, sweetie, she said, her voice dripping with false sympathy. You're not invited. It's for real family only. The words hung in the air like smoke after a gunshot. Mom looked down at her plate. Dad suddenly became very interested in his wine glass. Tyler at least had the decency to look uncomfortable, shifting in his seat and avoiding my eyes. Josh, Rebecca's husband, actually laughed. A real, genuine laugh like she'd just told the funniest joke he'd ever heard. I mean, no offense, Rebecca continued, twirling her pasta. But blood is blood, you know? This reunion is about celebrating our actual lineage. Grandma specifically said she wanted it to be DNA-related descendants only. My hand tightened around my water glass. Grandma Rose? The woman whose mortgage I helped pay when she was about to lose her house 3 years ago? Rebecca waved her hand dismissively. You gave her a loan, not a gift. And she paid you back eventually. After 2 years and only when I stopped asking about it. Dad finally spoke up, but not to defend me. Now, girls, let's not make a scene. This is your mother's birthday. I'm not making a scene, I said quietly. I'm just trying to understand the rules here. Rebecca leaned back in her chair, her expression shifting into something harder. The rules are simple, Madison. You're adopted. We love you, obviously, but there's a difference between being raised in a family and actually being part of one. This reunion is about bloodlines and heritage. You understand, right? I looked at each of them in turn. Mom wouldn't meet my eyes. Dad took another sip of wine. Tyler mumbled something about needing to use the restroom and didn't come back for 15 minutes. Josh was grinning like he'd just won the lottery. Something cold settled in my chest, right behind my ribcage. It wasn't anger, exactly. It was more like clarity, the kind you get when fog suddenly lifts and you can see exactly where you've been standing all along. I picked up my purse and stood. My chair scraped against the floor. Where are you going? Mom asked, finally looking up. We haven't even had cake yet. I smiled. It felt strange on my face, like wearing a mask that didn't quite fit. I just remembered I have somewhere else to be. Madison, come on, Tyler said, having returned from his convenient bathroom break. Don't be dramatic. I'm not being dramatic. I'm being efficient. I pulled out my wallet and dropped 2 20s on the table. That should cover my share. Have fun at the reunion. Rebecca smirked. We will. I walked out of that restaurant with my head high and my heart somewhere near my shoes. The drive home was a blur of streetlights and traffic signals. I didn't cry. I just drove. My apartment felt too quiet when I got back. I sat on my couch in the dark for maybe an hour, just thinking. Processing. Understanding things I'd been too stubborn or too hopeful to see before. See, here's what Rebecca and the rest of them didn't know. I wasn't just some charity case they'd picked up from the foster system out of the goodness of their hearts. Yes, I was adopted at age 7 after my biological parents died in a car accident. Yes, I grew up in their house and ate their food and took their name. But I also paid my own way through college with scholarships and 3 part-time jobs. I built a career in financial consulting that paid better than anything any of them had ever managed. And when they needed money, which was often, I was the one they called. Dad's failed restaurant venture 5 years ago? I loaned him $40,000 to pay off his business debts and avoid bankruptcy. He paid back maybe $10,000 of it. Tyler's legal troubles after his second DUI? I paid for his lawyer. $6,000, Never saw a penny of it returned. Mom's medical bills when her insurance denied coverage for that surgery? I covered the difference. $12,000. She promised to pay me back when she got her tax refund. That was 3 years ago. Rebecca's wedding? I paid for the flowers and the photographer when Josh's startup money got delayed. $8,000. She said it was a gift, even though she'd explicitly asked for a loan. Over the years, I'd given or loaned my family over $80,000. I never kept strict accounts because that's not what family does. You help each other. You show up. But sitting in my dark apartment, I pulled up my banking records and started making a spreadsheet. Every transaction. Every Venmo payment. Every check I'd written with loan in the memo line. Every text message where someone promised to pay me back next month or when I get paid or after the holidays. $87,463. That's what being part of the family had cost me. I spent the next 3 days preparing. I contacted a lawyer friend, just to make sure I was on solid legal ground. I gathered every text message, every email, every scrap of evidence that showed these were loans, not gifts. In some cases, I actually had signed promissory notes, because I'd been stupid enough to trust that formal paperwork meant something to these people. My lawyer looked over everything and gave me the verdict. I had an airtight case if I wanted to pursue legal collection. But there was an easier way. You see, 3 years ago when Dad was drowning in restaurant debt and facing bankruptcy, I didn't just loan him money. I became a co-owner of his business to protect my investment. The restaurant had failed anyway, but the LLC was still active. And that LLC had access to Dad's primary business account, the one he used for everything because he'd never bothered to separate his personal and business finances. I didn't have direct access to his personal money. But I had something better. I had legal authority to freeze the business account for financial review if I suspected mismanagement or fraud. And since Dad ran everything through that account, including his personal expenses, it was essentially the same thing. The third day after the dinner, I filed the paperwork. It would take about a week to process, but once it went through, Dad wouldn't be able to access that account until we had a formal meeting with a mediator to discuss the outstanding debts and the future of the LLC. Before I sent anything official, I went through every single transaction one more time. I needed to be absolutely certain I had everything documented. My living room floor was covered in printed bank statements, highlighted and annotated. I had a separate folder for each family member, color-coded because I'm nothing if not organized when I'm plotting revenge. Dad's folder was blue and the thickest. That initial $40,000 for the restaurant was just the beginning. There were smaller amounts too, $2,000 here for property taxes, $1,500 there for car repairs, $800 for Christmas gifts one year when money was tight. Each time, he promised it was temporary. Each time, I believed him because I wanted to believe that my father wouldn't take advantage of me. How naive I'd been. Mom's folder was pink, naturally. The medical bills were the big ticket item at $12,000, but there were other things too. She borrowed $3,000 to help pay for Rebecca's bridal shower, which I'd found particularly galling considering the wedding debt. There was another $2,000 for furniture when they redecorated the living room. And countless smaller amounts, $400 for a cruise deposit, $600 for new appliances, $300 for Tyler's birthday party. Every time, she'd hug me and called me her generous girl and promised to pay me back when things settled down. Things never settled down. Rebecca's folder was purple and made my blood pressure rise every time I looked at it. Beyond the wedding expenses, there were the emergency loans that happened every few months. Her car broke down, $1,000. Josh's startup needed capital, $3,000. They needed help with the down payment on their house, $5,000. That last one particularly stung because she'd told me it was a gift and I'd stupidly agreed in writing. My lawyer said we could still argue it in court given the pattern of other loans, but it would be harder to collect. Rebecca had a way of making me feel like I was being selfish if I hesitated to give her money. She'd sigh and say things like, "I guess I'll just have to figure it out myself, or it's fine, I know you have your own life now." The guilt would eat at me until I transferred the money. Tyler's folder was green and less extensive than the others, but still painful. The DUI lawyer was the biggest expense, but there was also money for rent when he'd lost his job, cash to help him buy a used car, and a loan to pay off credit card debt that he'd racked up during what he called his rough patch. Tyler at least seemed genuinely embarrassed when he asked for money, unlike the others who acted like I owed them something. I sat there on my floor, surrounded by the evidence of my own foolishness, and felt something shift inside me. This wasn't just about the reunion comment. That was merely the catalyst. This was about years of being treated like a resource instead of a person. My phone buzzed. A text from Mom, "Are you coming to Sunday dinner this week? I'm making pot roast." I stared at that text for a long minute. Sunday dinners had been a tradition since I was 7 years old. The one constant in my life with this family. Mom always made pot roast because it was my favorite, or so I thought. Then I remembered, pot roast was Rebecca's favorite. I prefer chicken marsala. But nobody had ever asked. I didn't respond to the text. Instead, I called my lawyer again. Her name was Patricia Chen, and she'd handled a contract dispute for my company a year ago. She was sharp, no nonsense, and had a reputation for being absolutely ruthless when necessary. Madison, she answered on the second ring. I've been reviewing the documents you sent. This is quite a situation. Can we make it hurt? I asked bluntly. There was a pause, then a low chuckle. Oh, I like you. Yes, we can make it hurt. But I need to know how far you want to take this. Are we talking about just getting your money back, or are we talking about sending a message? Both. Good. Here's what I'm thinking. She launched into a strategy that was both elegant and devastating. The LLC freeze was just the opening move. We'd follow up with formal demand letters that would create a paper trail for potential litigation. If they didn't respond appropriately, we'd file in civil court for breach of contract and unjust enrichment. The beauty of it was that even if they tried to claim some of the money was gifts, the sheer volume of transactions and the pattern of behavior would work in my favor. There's another angle we should consider, Patricia continued. Your father's business account has been mixing personal and business expenses, correct? Constantly. That's a problem for him. If the IRS decided to audit, he'd be in serious trouble. Now, I'm not suggesting we report him, but the threat of potential exposure might encourage cooperation. I felt a small smile tug at my lips. You're devious. I'm thorough. There's a difference. I could hear papers rustling on her end. I'm also going to recommend we include penalty clauses in any payment agreement. If they miss a payment, the interest rate increases. If they miss 3 payments, the entire balance becomes due immediately. We'll also include a clause preventing them from taking on additional debt above a certain threshold without your approval, given your position in the LLC. Can we do that legally? If they agree to it, yes. And they will agree to it, because the alternative is much worse. I'll have the paperwork ready by tomorrow. Once you give me the green light, we'll start the process. After I hung up with Patricia, I did something I hadn't done in years. I went through my old photo albums. Real, physical albums from before everything was digital. There I was at 7 years old, the day they brought me home from the foster care system. I was wearing a too big t-shirt and clutching a stuffed elephant named Peanuts. I looked terrified. Mom was smiling in the photo, her arm around my shoulders. Dad stood slightly apart, his expression unreadable. I flipped through the years. Birthday parties where I was always slightly off to the side in group photos. Family vacations where I shared a room with Rebecca while Tyler got his own. Christmas mornings where my gifts were always practical while theirs were extravagant. There was a photo from Rebecca's high school graduation. She was wearing her cap and gown, surrounded by family, beaming. I remembered that day clearly. I was 14 and had spent weeks making her a scrapbook of memories as a gift. She'd opened it, said oh, cute, and set it aside to open other presents. I found it in her closet months later, still in its wrapping. Another photo, Tyler's college acceptance celebration. We'd gone to his favorite restaurant. I'd paid for dinner because Dad said it was important for the family to chip in. I was the only one who chipped in. My check for the meal was $200. Nobody offered to reimburse me. One more, Mom's 60th birthday party. I'd organized the entire thing, rented the venue, coordinated with relatives, ordered the cake, hired the photographer. It had cost me $3,000. At the party, Rebecca gave a speech about what an amazing mother they had and how lucky she was to come from such a strong family. She never mentioned me once in the speech, even though I was standing right there. I closed the album and put it back in the box. Those memories didn't hurt anymore. They just confirmed what I already knew. I'd been convenient, not cherished. The formal demand letters went out on the 4th day. Patricia had crafted them beautifully, each one personalized to the recipient with specific amounts, dates, and terms. They were sent via certified mail, requiring signatures. I wanted proof that everyone received them. I also changed my phone number that day. I kept the old one active but forwarded it to voicemail. I gave my new number to exactly 5 people, my best friend Sarah, my boss, Patricia, and 2 cousins from my biological family who'd found me on one of those ancestry websites a few years back. They lived in Oregon and we only talked a few times a year, but at least they'd wanted to know me without wanting anything from me. The old number started ringing constantly. I checked the voicemails once at the end of the day. 37 messages. I listened to the first 3 and then deleted the rest. Dad, Madison, pick up the phone. We need to discuss this insanity before it goes any further. You're being incredibly immature. Rebecca, I can't believe you're actually doing this. Over what? A stupid comment at dinner? Grow up, Madison. Families fight. That's normal. Sending legal letters is not normal. You're going to regret this. Mom, sweetie, please call me. I don't understand what's happening. Your father is so upset. This isn't like you. Can we please just talk about this like adults? None of them acknowledged what they'd actually done. None of them apologized. It was all about my overreaction, my immaturity, my failure to just accept how things were. I went to work the next day like nothing was happening. My colleague Derek noticed I seemed distracted during our project meeting. You good? He asked afterward. Family stuff, I said vaguely. He nodded sympathetically. Say no more. Family is always complicated. How's your family? I asked, genuinely curious. He pulled out his phone and showed me photos from a recent barbecue. His parents, his siblings, nieces and nephews everywhere. Everyone was laughing. They drive me crazy sometimes, he admitted. My brother still owes me $50 from a bet we made 6 months ago. But we're solid, you know? Like, I could call any of them at 3 in the morning and they'd show up. That sounds nice, I said. He looked at me more carefully. Your family not like that? Not really. That sucks. I'm sorry. He seemed to mean it. For what it's worth, we're having a thing this weekend. Just a casual hangout at my place. You should come. My wife makes these incredible tacos. I smiled. Maybe I will. That night, I drafted my response to the family group chat. I'd been saving it, waiting for the right moment. Dad's attempt to withdraw money gave me that moment. I took the screenshot of the frozen account and stared at it for a while. The denial message was clear and professional. It gave no details, just stated that the account was under review. My finger hovered over the send button. This was the point of no return. Once I sent this, there was no pretending it was a misunderstanding. This was a declaration of war. I pressed send. Payment denied. Must be that family-only policy. Then I muted the chat and set my phone face down on the table. I made myself dinner, pasta carbonara, done properly with guanciale and pecorino romano. I poured a glass of wine. I put on my favorite playlist. I ate slowly, savoring every bite, while my phone vibrated continuously on the table like an angry bee. After dinner, I took a long bath with expensive bath salts I'd been saving for a special occasion. This felt special enough. I lit candles. I brought the wine. I stayed in the water until my fingers pruned and the candles burned down to stubs. When I finally checked my phone, there were 63 messages in the family chat. I didn't read them. I just saw the number and felt a grim satisfaction. 63 messages because they couldn't access money they'd grown accustomed to taking from me. My new number had one text, Sarah asking if I wanted to grab brunch on Sunday. I responded, absolutely. Let's try that new place downtown. Real family shows up. Real family doesn't need your money to value your presence. The fourth day after the dinner, Dad tried to withdraw money for something. I don't know what. Groceries, maybe, or gas. It didn't matter. He called me 17 times in 2 hours. I didn't answer. Instead, I took a screenshot of the account status showing the freeze, with a notation pending financial review, partnership dispute. I sent it to the family group chat with a simple message, payment denied. Must be that family-only policy. Then I muted the chat. The messages poured in anyway. I checked them later, just out of curiosity. Dad, Madison, this is ridiculous. Call me immediately. Mom, what have you done? Your father can't access his account. Rebecca, are you seriously this petty? It was just a reunion. Tyler, dude, this is messed up. Dad needs that money. Josh, I always knew you were unstable. I deleted the group chat without responding. The fifth day, they tried calling from different numbers. I blocked all of them. My work became a sanctuary. I threw myself into a new project, analyzing financial strategies for a tech startup looking to expand. The numbers made sense. The logic was clear. There was no emotional manipulation in spreadsheets, no guilt trips in quarterly reports. During lunch, I sat in the break room with a few colleagues. Jennifer from accounting was complaining about her mother-in-law coming to visit. She keeps making these passive-aggressive comments about how we're raising the kids, Jennifer said, stabbing her salad with more force than necessary. But the moment I push back even a little, suddenly I'm the bad guy for not respecting my elders. Boundaries are hard, said Marcus from HR. But necessary. My therapist says that people who react badly to boundaries are usually the ones who benefited from you not having any. His words hit me like a physical thing. People who react badly to boundaries are usually the ones who benefited from you not having any. That's really insightful, I said quietly. Marcus shrugged. Took me years of therapy to learn it. Cost me a fortune, but worth every penny. My family still doesn't talk to me much because I won't loan money anymore, but my stress levels are way down. You cut off your family over money? Jennifer asked, eyes wide. I cut off people who only contacted me when they needed money, he corrected. There's a difference. Family is supposed to be about more than just having the same last name or shared DNA. It's about mutual respect and care. If it's one-sided, it's not family. It's just obligation. I wanted to hug him. Instead, I just nodded and said, I think I needed to hear that. He gave me a knowing look. Going through something similar? Yeah. It gets easier, he promised. The guilt gets quieter. You start remembering who you are when you're not constantly trying to please people who can't be pleased. That evening, I got an email from Rebecca's account. The subject line was "This is your last chance." I almost deleted it without reading, but curiosity won out. Madison, I don't know what's happened to you, but this isn't who you are. You've always been the peacemaker, the one who keeps this family together. Now you're tearing us apart over money? Do you know how that makes you look? Petty. Vindictive. Small. Dad can't access his account and Mom is beside herself with worry. Tyler is confused and hurt. You're destroying relationships that we've built over decades because your feelings got hurt one time. Do you realize how selfish that is? I've tried to be patient with you. We all have. We included you in everything growing up. We never treated you differently. You had the same opportunities as Tyler and me. But I guess being adopted means you'll always feel like an outsider, and that's not our fault. That's your issue to deal with. If you don't drop this ridiculous legal action immediately, you're going to lose this family forever. Is that what you want? To be alone? Because that's where this is heading. We're all talking about cutting you off completely if you keep this up. No more dinners, no more holidays, no more contact. You'll be dead to us. Think very carefully about your next move. Some bridges, once burned, can't be rebuilt. Rebecca. I read it 3 times. Then I forwarded it to Patricia with a note. Does this count as intimidation? She responded within minutes. Oh, this is beautiful. Save this. If they try to claim in court that you're the aggressor or that this is a misunderstanding, this email shows their true colors. Also, the threat of cutting off contact is actually helpful to your case. It demonstrates a pattern of emotional manipulation and conditional relationship dynamics. I wrote back, so I should thank her? Probably not advisable, but feel free to enjoy the irony. I slept better that night than I had in years. The 6th day brought Rebecca to my office. I was in a meeting when my assistant knocked on the conference room door. I'm sorry to interrupt, but there's someone in the lobby asking for you. She says she's your sister and it's an emergency. My stomach dropped. An emergency? Had something happened to Mom? To Dad? I excused myself and went to the lobby, where Rebecca was pacing like a caged animal. She was wearing yoga pants and an oversized sweatshirt, her hair in a messy bun. I'd never seen her look so disheveled. What's wrong? Is everyone okay? She whirled on me. No, Madison, everyone is not okay. You've frozen Dad's account. He can't pay his mortgage. Mom is having panic attacks. And you're what, sitting in your fancy office pretending everything's fine? Relief that no one had died was quickly replaced by anger. You came to my workplace to yell at me? I came to talk sense into you since you won't answer your phone. She stepped closer, lowering her voice. Drop this. Now. Before you do permanent damage. I'm not the one who did damage, I said quietly. You did that at dinner when you laughed about excluding me from the family reunion. Oh my God, get over it. So I made a joke that didn't land. So what? You're really going to destroy this family over a bad joke? It wasn't a joke, Rebecca. Jokes are funny. What you said was cruel. And it was just the final straw in years of being treated like I don't matter. She threw up her hands. You're being dramatic. We've always treated you well. Have you? Really? Tell me, when was the last time any of you asked me how I was doing without following it up with a request for money? She faltered. That's not. We care about you. You care about my bank account. That's not fair. You want to talk about fair? I could feel my voice rising and force myself to stay calm. My coworkers were starting to stare. How much money have I loaned this family, Rebecca? I don't know, and I don't care. That's between you and them. Wrong. You personally owe me over $8,000 from your wedding alone. Plus the car emergency. Plus the house down payment that you decided was actually a gift after I gave it to you. Her face flushed red. You offered that money freely. As loans. Loans you promised to repay. Well, maybe if you made it clearer that you expected the money back, we would have been more careful about borrowing it. The audacity of that statement nearly took my breath away. You think this is my fault for not being clear enough about wanting my money back? I think you're being vindictive and petty, and if you don't fix this, you're going to regret it. Security had noticed the commotion. 2 guards were approaching. You need to leave, I said. This is my workplace. You don't get to show up here and make demands. Madison, leave. Now. Before I have you escorted out. She stared at me like she didn't recognize me. Maybe she didn't. Maybe the version of me she knew had never existed except in her imagination, a convenient, compliant ATM with no feelings or boundaries. Security reached us. Ma'am, we're going to need you to come with us. Rebecca looked between them and me, her expression shifting from anger to something that might have been genuine hurt. I can't believe you're doing this. I can't believe it took me this long to do it. She left with the guards, and I went back to my meeting. My hands were shaking, but my head was clear. That night, I found myself on the phone with one of my Oregon cousins, Emma. We connected through one of those DNA ancestry sites 3 years ago. She was my biological father's niece, making us first cousins once removed. We talked maybe once every few months, just catching up on life. Hey Madison. Her voice was warm and genuine. This is a nice surprise. How are you? Honestly? I'm not sure. I found myself telling her everything. The dinner, the reunion exclusion, the loans, the legal action. All of it. She was quiet for a long moment after I finished. Then, first of all, I'm so sorry you went through that. That's awful. Second, I'm proud of you for standing up for yourself. Third, you know you have family here, right? Like, actual family who would never treat you that way? We barely know each other, I said. So? That can change. My parents would love to meet you. They talk about you sometimes, wondering how you're doing. Your dad, your biological dad, was my Uncle Mike. He was a good man. Kind, generous, funny. From what you've told me about yourself, you're a lot like him. Something in my chest loosened. Really? Really? Look, I know it's weird because we didn't grow up together. But blood isn't just about who raises you. It's also about where you come from. And you come from good people who would have loved you fiercely if they'd had the chance. Your parents died protecting you, did you know that? The car accident, they swerved to avoid hitting another car head-on. Your dad turned the wheel so the impact would be on his side, not yours. They died so you could live. I hadn't known that. The foster system had never given me those details. Come visit us, Emma said. Seriously. We're having a family thing next month. Just a casual barbecue. Nothing fancy. But there will be people there who share your blood and your history, and who would be honored to know you better. I'll think about it, I said, but I was already checking my calendar. The 7th day was Saturday. I was home, drinking coffee and reading a novel, when the loud knock came at my door. I looked through the peephole and saw all of them standing there. Mom, Dad, Rebecca, Tyler, even Joshua. They looked terrible. Dad's face was red and sweaty. Mom had been crying, her makeup smeared. Rebecca looked furious. Tyler just looked confused. I opened the door but didn't invite them in. Can I help you? We need to talk, Dad said. His voice had that edge to it, the one he used when he expected to be obeyed immediately. I'm not sure we have anything to discuss. Madison, please, Mom said, her voice breaking. This has gone too far. Your father can't access his money. We can't pay our bills. That must be frustrating, I said. Have you considered asking your real family for help? The ones with the right DNA? Rebecca pushed forward. Stop being such a child about this. So you got your feelings hurt. Get over it. My feelings? I laughed, and it sounded strange even to my ears. You think this is about feelings? What else would it be about? Tyler asked. We're family. Are we? I pulled out my phone and brought up the spreadsheet. Because according to this, I'm down $87,000 on this family arrangement. That seems like a lot to pay for the privilege of being excluded from reunions. Dad's face went pale. You're actually keeping track? That's low, Madison. That's really low. What's low is accepting tens of thousands of dollars from someone and then telling them they're not real family. I kept my voice steady. What's low is laughing when someone gets told they're not good enough to attend a family gathering, even though they've funded your lifestyle for years. We were going to pay you back, Mom whispered. When? At the reunion I'm not invited to? I looked at each of them. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to agree to a formal payment plan for everything you owe me. Not a penny less. We're going to sign legal documents with real consequences if you default. And once you've paid back every single dollar, with interest, then maybe we can talk about whether we're family or not. Interest? Rebecca shrieked. You're charging your own family interest? You said it yourself. I'm not real family. I'm adopted. This is just business now. Dad tried to puff up, to use that intimidating voice he'd perfected over years of getting his way. You can't do this. I'll fight you in court. I'll sue you for everything you have. Please do. I'll enjoy watching a judge review all the evidence of you defaulting on legal loans while crying about your adopted daughter being mean to you. I smiled. My lawyer is very good. And very expensive. But I can afford her. Can you afford a lawyer, Dad? Oh wait, you can't access your money right now. This is extortion, Josh said. No, this is collection on legitimate debts. Extortion would be if I threatened to expose something unless you paid me. I'm just asking for my money back. The money you promised to repay. I looked at Josh specifically. And you're not even on the hook here, so I'm not sure why you're running your mouth. Unless Rebecca wants to add marital funds to her debt repayment? That could be arranged. Rebecca grabbed Josh's arm and pulled him back. Tyler spoke up, his voice softer than the others. Madison, come on. This is crazy. We're family. We mess up sometimes, but we're still family. Then act like it, I said. Family doesn't take and then laugh when someone gets excluded. Family doesn't treat people like walking ATMs while simultaneously treating them like they don't really belong. Mom was crying harder now. We didn't mean it like that. The reunion thing, it was just Rebecca's idea. I didn't agree with it. But you didn't disagree with it either. You sat there and let it happen. You all did. I felt that cold clarity settling deeper. That's the thing about passive cruelty. It still counts. So what now? Dad demanded. You're just going to destroy this family over money? I'm not destroying anything. I'm just setting boundaries. You pay back what you owe with interest at the legal rate for personal loans in this state, on a payment plan that we'll establish through mediation. The account freeze stays in place until we have a signed agreement. And going forward, you stop treating me like a convenience and start treating me with basic respect. And if we don't agree? Rebecca asked. Then I proceed with formal collection proceedings. Liens, wage garnishment, the whole deal. I'll get my money eventually. It'll just be more expensive and more embarrassing for you. I shrugged. Your choice. They stood there in the hallway, looking at each other, clearly not having expected this level of resistance. You've changed, Mom said finally. This isn't like you. You're right. The old me would have absorbed this insult and kept showing up and kept paying for the privilege of being tolerated. But I'm done being a doormat for people who only value me for my bank account. I started to close the door. Wait, Tyler said quickly. What do we need to do? To fix this? I'll have my lawyer send over the paperwork for the payment plan. You'll all sign it. You'll make your payments on time. And you'll stop acting like I should be grateful you let me exist in your orbit. I looked at each of them one more time. And maybe, if you can manage to treat me like an actual human being for a sustained period, we can rebuild something. But it's going to be on my terms now, not yours. This is blackmail, Dad said again, but there was less conviction in his voice. No, Dad. This is consequences. Welcome to them. I closed the door. For a moment, I heard muffled arguing on the other side. Then footsteps retreating down the hallway. I went back to my couch and picked up my coffee. It had gone cold, but I drank it anyway. My phone started buzzing again. More messages. More calls. I silenced it and went back to my book. 3 days later, my lawyer received confirmation that all parties had agreed to enter mediation. The meeting was scheduled for the following week. The terms would be discussed and formalized. My lawyer was optimistic that they'd agree to a reasonable payment plan, given that the alternative was formal legal action that would cost them even more. I didn't feel victorious. I just felt tired. But I also felt something else. Something I hadn't felt in a long time when it came to my family. I felt respected. They were finally taking me seriously. Not because they loved me or valued me, but because I'd forced them to. It wasn't the relationship I'd wanted, but it was honest. The mediation meeting happened in a bland conference room downtown. Everyone signed the paperwork. Dad's business account was unfrozen once he signed over a personal guarantee and agreed to the payment terms. The total, with interest, came to just over $93,000. They'd be paying it off for the next 5 years, with automatic withdrawals set up so nobody could forget. Rebecca cried. Mom looked like she'd aged 10 years. Dad wouldn't look at me. Tyler kept apologizing, saying he never meant for things to get this bad, but he still signed the papers. Afterward, my lawyer and I went to a nice restaurant to celebrate. She ordered champagne. You know, she said, raising her glass, most people don't have the spine to do what you did. They let family take advantage of them forever because they're afraid of being alone. Who says I'm not afraid of being alone? I asked. Are you? I thought about it. Really thought about it. No. Being alone is better than being surrounded by people who don't actually see you. She clinked her glass against mine. Damn right it is. A month later, I got a text from Tyler. Just Tyler, not the group chat. Hey. I've been thinking about what you said. About how we treated you. You were right. I'm sorry. Really sorry. Not just about the money, about everything. If you're willing, I'd like to take you to coffee sometime. Just us. No agenda, no favors to ask. Just trying to do better. I stared at that text for a long time. Finally, I replied, okay. Coffee. But you're buying. Fair enough. Thursday at 2? See you then. It wasn't forgiveness. It wasn't absolution. It was just a small step towards something that might eventually resemble an actual relationship. Rebecca never apologized. Neither did Dad. Mom sent a long, rambling email about how hurt she was that I turned on the family and how disappointed she was in me. I read it once and archived it without responding. The payments came through every month like clockwork. Automatic withdrawals are beautiful things. I didn't go to the family reunion in July. I spent that week in Hawaii instead, on a beach with a fruity drink and a good book. I posted exactly one photo on social media, me, smiling genuinely for the first time in months, with the ocean behind me and the caption enjoying time with people who actually want me around. Rebecca blocked me within an hour. Tyler liked the photo and commented you deserve it. Sometimes choosing yourself means losing people. But here's the secret they don't tell you, some people aren't worth keeping. Some relationships cost more than they're worth. And sometimes the family you're born into, or adopted into, isn't your real family at all. Real family shows up. Real family respects you. Real family doesn't keep a separate ledger in their hearts labeled real and other. I learned that at a dinner table in an Italian restaurant, watching people laugh at my exclusion while eating food I'd probably helped pay for. And I learned something else too, revenge isn't about hurting people who hurt you. It's about refusing to let them keep hurting you. It's about valuing yourself enough to demand better. It's about drawing boundaries with permanent marker instead of chalk. The word family means nothing if the people wearing that label treat you like you're disposable. So I made myself indispensable where it actually mattered, to myself. Best decision I ever made.